Hate to see it botched? Here's the best bits, a Botching It Up podcast short clip.
Well, with that out of the way, I want to get into NWA because you told me last week to check this out. So I checked out NWA Carnyland last Tuesday. That was really worth my time.
Well, you know that their promos always state now that they've gone from a punchline to a headline.
Yeah.
What did you think of that statement coming out of Carnyland?
Well,
Because I personally think that more people enjoyed NWA currently when it was in Joe Exotic's backyard.
I think the joke's on them. We're not laughing with them, we're laughing at them, is what I feel.
I've got to admire them for attempting to do something during the coronavirus period, which is an empty wrestling show with a couple of fan wrestlers in the background. And let's face it, they're not doing that because they don't have the cash and they probably don't have body roster to have a crowd, and they don't even have the space to distance the crowd. So I can see why they're attempting to put something together, anything together, to keep their name out there.
Yeah, so it feels like this is just an excuse for them to get content out onto YouTube. I guess they've run out of pre-tape shows, and for whatever reason, like you said, maybe people, maybe money, then they're not recording any more live shows. I don't think this is the best way to keep their name out there. Nothing is better than something that's awful. I think all wrestling fans, I mean, everyone in the world knows what we're going through right now. So if they just didn't post anything, that would be okay. Ring of Honor haven't done anything in a while. I'm still going to check them out once they start doing shows again. This isn't going to hurt them. I don't know. I feel this was a way for them to progress their stories and their characters. So it was just a load of skits, and none of it, as a casual of NWA, made any sense to me. And it all just seemed like a load of nonsense stitched together. And then the banter between Barrett and whoever their lead commentator isn't even very good. It's not entertaining. There was no comedy either.
It's not entertaining. I don't think anybody asked for Stu Bennett as a talking circle.
It's. I thought NWA was meant to be on like this realistic old school vibe anyway. So why have? It seems like something Chikara or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla would do, and on that product, it would probably crack a smile.
Taz on his podcast says he gets really upset when people use inside lingo. Smark, Mark, Shoot, Carney. This entire show feels like it's made by a Smart Mark wrestling fan for other Smart Mark wrestling fans. And Billy Corgan is kind of outing himself right now as a wrestling fan with a lot of money. And I don't think that it's conducive towards good business, because if you've got Nick Aldis and Eli Drake sitting there telling me, and in a later you've got Inside NWA with Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana. I don't know whether you went past Carnyland, but they have other shows which are basically, they're selling them as shows, but they're basically talking head podcasts. I watched a little bit of Inside NWA, and they're telling me about how Anderson, in their very last episode, Anderson was hurt, but he didn't really want to go about it, and then they had to change the booking. Is this clever to talk about the inside booking of an episode of NWA when you're 9 episodes deep?
It's a real slim line, because someone like me, I love when wrestlers do talk about behind the scenes, but not when they're playing up the fact. So they're talking about jobbers and stuff like this. That's not fun. I remember Chris Jericho on his podcast they were talking the step by step of one of the matches they had where someone was injured and they had to rewrite the match they had. And that was the most fantastic 10 minutes of a wrestling podcast I've ever heard. It was so interesting to know how they think, to know how not only they booked a story, but how they changed the story on the fly, and also how the referee was controlling the whole situation. Behind the scenes stuff like that sometimes is fantastic. Even when Jim Cornette, I'm not a fan of his, but he's obviously a great storyteller, and when he's talking about how to book a show, that stuff's really interesting.
Highspots.com does shoot interviews, right? These are things that are made meta outside of the wrestling circle for wrestling fans to try and peer a look through the curtain. Undertaker opening the curtain up after 30 years is a lot different from a company which is already financially struggling who have been open for business for a year, letting us look behind their curtain when they haven't even stabilized their characters, when they haven't even cemented their storylines. They're showing us more about what's going on behind the scenes than they've actually given us footage over the past year.
Don't you think it would have been more interesting if they shot documentary style, but still kept it kayfabe? So the idea that Colt Cabana left us and make him, I don't want to say make him a heel because that's not his character, but like say this has really messed up our product. We got matches scheduled. Was he still a champion? Did he have to vacate a championship?
I actually didn't watch that last episode.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. They could have created a story out of him leaving, and rather than talking backstage, oh, this is how we had to rebook, this is how we should change things. Why not have a GM style character be heated about it and create something engaging out of it rather than just a 10-minute podcast?
I personally would have kept things quiet as they were. I was raving to you about the NWA 70th anniversary show that they put on YouTube for free. I was telling you to go watch it. It made me more excited to watch NWA when they put up an old event. Similarly, you told me you watched, I think, Superpower. You really enjoyed that. I know that they've run out of content. The content that they are now providing is not helping them whatsoever. I don't know did you actually go through what they were advertising? The Nick Aldis show, the Eli Drake show.
The Eli Drake show looked awful. I don't know. I don't know if that was kayfabe or if he's just got a wacky personality. That looked shite. The only thing I was interested coming out of this was the Nick Aldis thing. But again, that looked like it was just three wrestlers sat around having a laugh, talking about the old days. Don't think it's going to help NWA's product going forward, and I don't know how interesting it's going to be after 10, 15 minutes of them talking about the highlights of their career.
I watched 10, 20 minutes or so of these a time. The Nick Aldis show is three guys, as you said, sitting around telling wrestling road stories. The Eli Drake show is a one-man podcast in which Eli Drake basically talks about life, fun, or cuts a promo. The Inside NWA...
Is that interesting, though?
No.
Okay.
Inside NWA is Billy Corgan, Dave Lagana, and the announcer sharing far too much about the inside of the business. All of these shows last over an hour. And I took a quick look through the viewings and the likes. You started with Carnyland, which is currently at 56,000 likes. So usually they're getting 180,000 likes, or 180,000 views for wrestling videos, like actual wrestling.
But that makes sense. A non-wrestling show will always have less views than in-ring shows.
For sure. But you've got Carnyland at 56,000 views. Inside NWA was then posted, 17,000 views. Eli Drake was posted, 13,000 views. Nick Aldis was posted, 9,000 views. It's quite clear, even from the first week, that people are not interested in this stuff.
Yeah, that is a steep fall.
And the only thing that they are doing right now is damaging themselves. They're not even getting eyes on the product.
It shows how much they fucked up with that very first show. Because that was almost half of their usual viewers tuned into this show.
Yeah.
So the interest was there, and if they had nailed it, if they'd done something exciting, something interesting, those people probably would have continued to watch the whole week's worth of stuff.
I think they managed to build it up so that it had a certain amount of intrigue to it, because they refused to say anything about what it was or what it represented. But at the same time, they had basically started a Patreon account for people that wanted to be part of Carnyland or whatever. It was like a weird, interesting business dynamic that they're thrown at us. But the actual
they're trying to bleed money out of this.
Oh yeah. They've got several layers of subscriber that you can put money into.
Jesus, I thought this was just to create content for YouTube. I didn't realize this was their actual business.
Yeah,
That's even worse.
The highest level is to become a citizen of Carnyland. I don't know how much that costs, but that's the highest tier.
Jesus, I mean, that's just crap. I don't know what to say. Like, I thought it was bad when they were just using it as an excuse for some extra content just to keep their name in people's minds, but as an actual business move.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I'm pretty passionate about how I feel like they're going down the wrong avenue. Because totally. I'm a massive fan of Billy Corgan and I really want NWA to work. in a lot of ways more than you do. This is completely the wrong move. The worst thing I can think of out of any of the products we're currently watching.
If this is the direction they're going, and I think they're going to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Like, share, and subscribe to keep it botched up, brother.